Welcome to the SmartKeys podcast. In the race to stay productive in our remote and hybrid workplaces, speed. Well, speed feels like everything. We're all dealing with distributed teams, a dizzying array of devices, and that constant pressure to just get work done, fast. Regardless of what tools IT has officially approved, today we are diving deep into a topic that has become a defining challenge for, I think, most modern professionals: shadow IT. It's all about trying to balance security, compliance, and of course, employee flexibility. This isn't just a small internal issue anymore.
Not at all. It's a critical organizational issue, and we're going to unpack exactly what that means for your business.
So to set the stage, let's get a common definition right from the jump. What exactly are we talking about when we say shadow IT?
Right. So based on the material we've synthesized for you today, shadow IT is defined pretty clearly as, well, anything users deploy or use without formal central IT approval. Anything. And it's not always super sophisticated stuff. We're talking about personal phones or laptops accessing corporate systems, or those, consumer-grade cloud apps we all love. Think Slack, Dropbox, Google Drive, Trello.
So they're used outside of a corporate account.
Exactly. When they're tied to a personal email, operating completely outside of IT's view.
So our mission today is to move past the fear and maybe turn this into a manageable, even strategic advantage. This deep dive will offer you a calm, step-by-step path to gain visibility, prioritize the biggest risks, and most importantly, balance that necessary governance with actually empowering employees.
That's the key. We're essentially finding a path to turn that unsanctioned use into better, safer technology choices for the entire organization.
But the stakes are high.
The stakes couldn't be higher. We need to acknowledge the gravity of this right away. While users adopt these tools with good intentions, they're looking for speed, for simplicity.
They're trying to solve a business problem.
Right now, yeah. But that adoption creates real and immediate exposure. The sources highlight some core risks that are not abstract at all. We're talking about cyber attacks, massive data loss, and some really significant, potentially business-crippling compliance issues.
Okay, let's unpack that financial reality. You mentioned significant exposure. What are the tangible, real-world examples and, the costs we're seeing? Can't just be about a vague risk anymore.
Absolutely not. This isn't theory. The financial hit is huge. We can sort of break it down into three major risk areas. The first one is the most obvious: financial exposure.
Data breaches.
Data breaches. Highly likely when you have unmanaged systems involved. Right now, they cost organizations an average of, get this, $4.35 million.
Wow, $4.35 million. That's a staggering average. But beyond the breach itself, what's the specific vulnerability from shadow IT that's being exploited? Is it just bad passwords?
It's much more systemic than that. It's really about control. So when files are created and stored on an unmanaged system, let's say a personal cloud drive, they bypass your entire corporate security architecture.
So no backups, no retention policies.
Nothing. They lack proper retention, automated backups, recovery measures. If that employee leaves or their personal account gets hacked, the corporate data is just gone. Or worse, it's permanently exposed. That lack of control is what drives that huge financial risk.
Okay, so that's the financial side. What's the second area?
The second area is compliance violations, and this is a big one. Compliance is mandatory, and the penalties are designed to sting. Think about frameworks like GDPR in Europe.
Or IPA in healthcare.
Or IPA, right, or PCI DSS for payment card data. Unmanaged tools are constantly exposing sensitive information that falls under these very strict requirements.
Can you give us a quick example? Like, how does common shadow app create a compliance problem almost instantly?
Sure. Let's take IPA. If a remote employee uses their personal unencrypted laptop to process patient files, and they sync those files to a consumer-grade cloud service, a shadow IT tool, you've instantly violated IPA's privacy and security rules. It's that simple.
And for GDPR?
Similar thing. Say your sales team is storing prospect lists with personal info on an unmanaged spreadsheet. That bypasses all of GDPR's rules for data access and deletion. You're now at risk of fines that can be tens of millions of euros.
Wow.
The complexity of these rules just means that any deviation from the approved stack is a fast track to a violation. And the final area is operational inefficiencies.
This one gets overlooked, I feel.
It does, because it seems less dramatic than a breach. But app sprawl and these fragmented data silos, they slow teams down and create just massive, costly overhead. The sources cite a quote that really drives this home. It says, users create VMs, add browser plugins, or pass files by USB to meet deadlines.
That quote really highlights the desperation. They're just trying to meet their goals. If the official software is slow or clunky, They'll build their own solution out of whatever's on hand. And in a remote world, this happens so easily. We see this massive cloud app sprawl. A department gets frustrated and just spins up its own project management tool.
Tied to personal email addresses.
Exactly, instead of corporate identity systems, which leads right into that huge risk of BYOD, bring your own device.
Oh, absolutely. Personal laptops, phones, tablets, they're all accessing critical corporate systems without the required security agents, without enforced encryption. And the risk goes even wider.
How so?
The home network itself. Unpatched home printers, unsecured webcams, even smart home gadgets are all sharing the same network that the user is logging into corporate resources from.
That's a scary thought.
It introduces all these vulnerable paths for lateral movement.
So that collision of consumer convenience and corporate data is really the critical challenge we have to solve. We can't just ban it.
We can't. Which brings us to the solution. The fundamental shift here is understanding that you can't manage risks you can't see. And while shadow IT feels negative, that agility, it's a critical signal.
A signal of what?
It reveals significant unmet needs in your organization's official toolkit. Maybe it's poor mobile integration, slow access, or just a glacial procurement process.
So the first step isn't blocking, it's gaining visibility. Practically speaking, how do you even start detecting what's running out there?
You start with the basics, like network scans. But the most powerful tool here is a CASB, a cloud access security broker.
A CASB?
Yeah, think of it like a traffic cop sitting between your users and the cloud. It helps you discover all those hidden, unsanctioned apps that people are using.
Okay, so the scan or the CASB flags, I don't know, dozens, maybe hundreds of apps. What's next?
Yeah.
You can't tackle everything at once.
No, and you shouldn't try. That's where structure comes in. You build an inventory. You link each app to its users, their authentication methods, and most critically, the type of data it touches.
Ah, so you're mapping it all out.
You're mapping it. But the key is the second step, risk scoring and triage. You have to immediately classify that data by sensitivity. Is it PII? Is it financial data? Is it intellectual property?
And then you prioritize.
Then you score and prioritize. You find your quick wins. Instead of trying to eliminate every single unmanaged app, you focus on killing the 3 highest risk tools that are handling sensitive data, or maybe consolidating 10 duplicate project management apps into one approved one.
That sounds so much more rational than just a blanket ban. It builds trust.
It does, and that leads to creating practical policies that empower people instead of just creating roadblocks. The policy needs to be simple. It has to clarify 3 things: what's sanctioned, what's maybe tolerated for now, and how to request a new tool quickly.
That last part feels really important, the speed.
It's paramount. The sources emphasize designing a 1-page request workflow. If the process takes 6 weeks in 5 departments, people will just hide the tools they're using. But a simple, fast request form, that shows IT is responsive.
And the positive outcome of that is you can publish an approved tools catalog. So instead of a team defaulting to some random consumer app, they can just pick a vetted option and go.
It's a massive friction reducer. And all of it hinges on training.
But not boring training.
No, not a boring annual presentation. It has to be ongoing. It has to use real-world scenarios, show people the risk of granting a third-party app access to their corporate email, show them how file sharing works on sanctioned versus unsanctioned platforms.
So the training becomes a tool for empowerment, not a lecture. It makes them part of the solution.
Exactly. Co-ownership is key.
Okay, here's where it gets really interesting for me. Once we have that visibility in the policy framework, we need to actually harden access and protect the data. What's that right size baseline of controls that can reduce exposure fast without driving users crazy?
Right. We can get a really strong posture with a focused set of technical controls. This is the stack for immediate risk reduction. It starts with access hardening.
And the foundation there has to be MFA.
Has to be. Enforcing MFA, multi-factor authentication everywhere. Just requiring that second check cuts down on a huge amount of risk from compromised passwords.
But MFA alone isn't enough, right?
It's not. You have to pair it with SSO or single sign-on. SSO means the user can access all their sanctioned apps with one identity. It simplifies their lives, centralizes security, and makes them way more likely to stick to the approved methods.
And what about the devices themselves? That's the heart of the BYOD risk.
You must require device management on any endpoint that touches company data, period. Whether it's corporate or personal, this lets you enforce patching, screen locks, and encryption. The user accepts a little management in exchange for access.
Okay, that covers access and devices. What about the cloud services themselves?
For that, you need robust cloud governance. This is where your CASB really shines again. It helps you discover the apps, risk score them, and then apply specific controls based on the app's category.
So you could, for example, allow a chat service, but block financial data from being uploaded to it.
Precisely. It's smart constraints, not a blanket ban. And finally, you have to protect the data itself.
With what?
That requires strong data safeguards. Specifically, you need to apply DLP, or data loss prevention policies. Think of DLP as a virtual fence. It examines content and stops sensitive files, PII, financial records, from leaving approved systems.
They have encryption.
Always. Enforce encryption both at rest when it's stored and in transit when it's moving. And of course, apply least privilege access. People should only be able to see the data they absolutely need to do their jobs.
You know, what's truly fascinating about this whole approach is the value proposition. By implementing this focused baseline of controls, MFA, SSO, CAKP, DLP, and device management, you're basically converting these high-risk practices into safer solutions that actually help people work.
You're leveraging their momentum instead of fighting it.
And the data backs this up. There's a stat that says 97% of professionals see productivity gains when employees can use preferred technologies that are properly secured.
So, to summarize the whole strategy, the core idea is to treat these unsanctioned apps as vital signals of unmet needs, not just as threats.
Start with visibility.
Start with visibility. Act fast, classify the information they handle, and close the highest risks first. Simple policies and an approved tools list make compliance so much easier.
The technical side is essential, but the final thought for you, the listener, to apply immediately should really focus on change management. And it has to be driven by employee input.
You have to build trust.
You have to build trust.
Yeah.
Use quick surveys, assign department champions, and critically, track your progress. Use dashboards to show app adoption rates and the decommissioning of risky shadow apps. Celebrate those wins. That builds trust faster than any block list ever could.
And here's a provocative thought to close the loop on this. Commit to sharing one retired shadow IT example each quarter.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah. In a company or department meeting, just openly say, we know 3 teams were using App X because our sanction tool is too slow. We heard you. We've now provided approved alternative Y, which has the speed you need, but with our full security stack.
So you're showing that governance isn't a dead end.
Exactly. You're showing it's a path toward better tools.
That is a practical, powerful way to keep the conversation going and maintain that trust.
Thank you so much for tuning into the SmartKeys podcast for this deep dive.
We encourage you to keep exploring these topics and start applying these shifts in visibility and policy in your own organization.
And make sure you read the full article we drew from today, Shadow IT in Remote Work, Managing Unapproved Tools and Risks. You can find the link in the show notes. Please subscribe to the podcast to make sure you don't miss our next deep dive.